Hi everyone. My name is Roberto Cárdenas. In the today's topics, I'm going to talk about BDD TDD with Pester Framework for PowerShell. How can we use that one? How we use it with different clients. Um, uh, the a little bit background about me is I graduated in computer science in Cuba in 2019. I started in 2013 this journey, the DevOps journey, putting together a couple of all those tools that people always need to be more agile in the environment of QA automation, infrastructure automation using different tools on frameworks like Ansible, Docker, Chef, continuous integration service like Jenkins. In the last 5 years, I've been using uh, Azure DevOps, everything related with GitLab, CI/CD, Pipelines, Bitbuckets, all those kind of stuff. I work in different companies in Latin America, and also when I started here, in a couple of companies before starting in Accenture. That's a little bit about me. Who is using PowerShell? Um, One of the people or client that I work with, sometimes when you get there, they have a bunch of scripts in PowerShell. They have different modules, but most of the time they are not using or they don't know about a testing framework like Pester. Most of the time they just do a couple of tests, but they're not following a process like BDD, TDD, where you define your expectations before writing a piece of code. They don't even test that before, or they don't write down what the expectations are, what are they looking for, what need to be in output, the successful output of that kind of behavior, that kind of process. They don't have defined. So with one of the client that I have been working with related with Azure or anything related with PowerShell development, they don't have that kind of BDD, TDD process defined. So who knows Pester? Mostly just people in the community are trying to get this one out there, trying to bring people to use Pester for the BDD process using PowerShells. And I realized that most of the people, or big companies, they don't use that one. They use BDD, TDD with other processes like Ruby on Rails, check spec, for example, and other kind of tools for testing. And their normal regular process for software developments, they're using BDD, TDD, but for PowerShell, a lot of people that are not using Pester, which is an amazing framework. We will see now later. What is Pester? Pester is an open source that give you the opportunity to define your behavior-driven development, which is BDD and also TDD, only for PowerShell, and has an amazing set of mocking functions where you can mock system, you can mock kits, you can mock anything that you want, third-party services, REST APIs, anything, and generate reports and metrics, which is really good. So you can get, when you run Pester, you will see like any other framework, like let's say server space, chef space, you can see all your metrics, what was wrong, what was executed successfully, what was wrong, with the same behavior like red, right, red, green. And then you can put that in reports. You want to generate reports. That's most of the four main power feature that Pester provide. So how do we get Pester? Pester can be installed in any version of the Windows, like standard for Windows XP or Vista, and it's coming by default. But most of the time, you have to upgrade to the latest versions, because the version that is coming by default is a little bit it's an older version. And then you can do using the regular PowerShell gallery in window, or you can go from source and compile that one, or you can use even Chocolate, which is really good if you are a more CLI guy that prefer using that one for continuous updates in your software, your package software. So Pester compared with other, for example, with Chef spec, R spec, server spec, Pester provide the common DSL language. It's pretty simple. If you have been working with that kind of frameworks before, it will be easy for you or for your team to identify what is it describe, what is the context, what is the meaning of operator, association. This pretty the similar behavior and DSL language. The TDD framework have a lot of expected behavior, like you can do be or not to be, that we will see a list later. And similar outputs is something fail, it's going to be red. If something is was executed successful, you will see the green line. You will see what was executed, what is the name of the feature that was executed, and it's easily to integrate with any CI/CD server. Let's say if you are developing solutions and your integration server is Azure DevOps, and then you can run PowerShell in your node or your agents. It's easy to integrate. You can do the same with any other like Bitbucket, GitLab, Jenkins, all of those. And then you can generate metrics and report, like I said before, and then you can put that one, for example, if you're using Azure DevOps, you can export that in Unix format, and then you will see all the report, and then you can provide that to your manager, your team. You can set expectations, you can set thresholds, that kind of features you can use. With any of these, Pester is providing the same. It's providing a DSL like Chef Spec, RSpec, Server Spec. So if you work, your team worked before with those, it will be easy for you. What can be tested in Pester? Well, in Pester, the team can test PowerShell functions and standard function. If you have those functions already, you can start in designing whatever you so you design the real value for your company or for your team. You don't want to test everything, but you can test whatever you want. If you have functional standard functions that other people, developer or third parties that are giving you, or other team that is developing, you can set up those tests. If you are worried about how can we test the file system, for example, how do we test a file or a directory exists in the past? What is the size? What is the owner of that file, that system? What kind of permission do I have in those, just to provide the tools to do that kind of testing too. If you are worried about Windows Registry, Pester provide a really amazing feature that you can test the key in the system. Also, it provide an isolated environment where you can do that one without touching the real keys in the host. The services you have, external servers, the local servers, you can mock in those services. You don't have the implementation already. We'll be talking about mocking, and Pesters allow you to do that. And then you can do, if you have templates, you can generate template. For example, if you are using Azure RMs, that's one example that I have. You can test the content of that JSON file and then specify quality in that specific component. So how to do it with Pester? Let's start with the first ones, functions on file. But before that, let's see what operators we have. Pester provide the science and syntax, as said before, like any other framework. Like you can do be exactly, pre-graded, then all those kind of functions. If you want to test a specific function should throw an error, or you can test that function is executed within a specific set of parameters, and a lot more. And the main idea here in this slide is a be versus not to be. Is like any other framework, it provides the be and a not to be, but I do recommend always trying to keep your tests in the positive way. So try to avoid the negative syntax. So it's more clear when you have a be, a positive. It's easy to read, it's easy to evaluate. Everyone's can read that one easily than the other way. And in the DSL documentation, they have a bunch of documentation. They have a bunch of real examples that you can go read, and those are really, really, really good examples. The mocking feature, it provides mocking function for any PowerShell. So if you have a PowerShell and then you want to mock if that specific command was executed or not, and how many times was executed, that is possible also with Pester. If you want to fake dependencies, you want to also verify other kinds of behavior, you can do all that with Pester with the mocking functions. For example, if you want to mock in a specific behavior, and the outputs is expected to be developed by any other team, or is expected that a REST API response, you can mod that kind of features with Pester. The files isolation is one of the best features that Pester provides, because you can see this cycle here that start with the create, describe, load. The main idea is when you create that cycle, you can, first of all, create a cycle where you create the blog, you create the clean test drive, and Pester is going to create that clean test drive only for your test. So that's one feature that increase, you don't have to worry about to do if other tests are running at the same time than you. It won't be impacted because every test drive is isolated. So that's a huge benefit. And once you complete your whole test, you don't have to worry about do the cleaning after that. So what Pester does is create that isolated environment for any test that is running. It doesn't matter if it's running in parallel or not. And also it's cleaning everything that you created in that specific test. So that's those two. The first one is isolation, and the second one is doing the cleaning for you. And then you can run multiple times in parallel. That's an amazing feature. That's one of the biggest challenges when you have a team. You are worried about, do I create too many files in the file system? Do I need to do the cleanup after the test is running? So you don't have to worry about that with Pester. And the same happens with window registry. So with the registry, sometimes the developers worry about okay, I'm modifying that registry in my system, that's going to be impacting, that's going to destroy something in the system. It works in the same way that the isolation for the file system. It create the green environment. You can create all the rule, all the key that you want, and once the test is done, it's going to remove all the keys. It's going to do a cleanup for that isolated pieces registry. Both tools are one of the biggest feature that Pester provide, because you don't have to worry about impacting your system where maybe other developers are using the same node or the same host running the test, or you don't have to worry about data cleaning after the test is running in both cases. Those are what you can do. Or the other thing that Pester you have to be clear about is the team challenge. The communication, how to easy define a test, how you can write a test. It's easy to read. It's easy to define. It's different because you can define something really simple, but it's hard to read. So with Pester, you can do that. What is the outcome of your test? It's going to be a clear report. How can you keep tracking how long the test run? How can you execute multiple tests at the same time? Can I do segregation? By domain, by specific test, by tags? Is that possible? Yes, it is with Pester. The automation can be repeatable, can be CI, CD, CT, which means continuous integration, continuous delivery. CT is continuous testing. Is that possible? Yes, it is. And now what I want to do the process measurable. So can I get some metrics that one? Of course you can do. So the first one is the communication outcome. This is an example how you can easily read. This is a piece of example of definition of the BDD, TDD in Pester. So you describe, for example, I config to directory, and then you can verify. You can see the context is verified parameter, and there have two tests. It should have a mandatory path, for example, and the other one is that need to be in a stream parameter. So tester is verifying there. The parameter was provided. The parameter is also in a stream, and how long each test was executed, and what is that? How many tests pass, how many fail, skip it, or pending. So the first part is easy to read and understand. You can see everything is segregated, have the indentation. You can see the description of the test itself. You can define the context. Okay, what I'm testing here, I'm testing just the mandatory parameters there. What I'm testing the second one, the string is a type of string. And then traceability is giving me like how long the test is taken to be executed, how many pass, how many tests pass, what failed, what was skipped, what is in pending. So this is the best of what is the communication in your team and what is the outcome from that kind of communication. So the other part in the team challenge was the time and segregation. So I want to run a lot of tests. I have a lot of tests, but I want to segregate. Sometimes I just want to run everything. Sometimes I just want to run, let's say, by tag. I want to segregate by, because I have one developer doing QA tests for one kind of task. Other kind of development can be segregated by domain. So what you can do is segregating the test. Let's say one developer have a bunch of leads that they want to do, and at the same time they want to decrease the numbers execution so they can use the tags. You can use that with Pester. The other part is you can do, for example, you can segregate by domain. In both cases, you can execute with Pester commands, and that is going to help you to decrease the time execution, which is really important. Also increase the number of steps. And the main idea with Pester here is you have to define first what your outcomes are. So you can identify if you have a bunch of steps that you don't want to do, for example, for this sprint, because those are pending on other futures, but you already have whatever was the definition, and you don't want to see a lot of pending paths because you plan before developing. You can specify, okay, I just want to execute this set of tests. The other case is, for example, you have a huge number of cases and you identify there's a problem in some specific feature in the system. The first thing that you need to do is just run your test, right? You run your test, you identify what changes. If the test is successful or failure, the test is going to tell you, okay, this is the specific text, and then using those tags and segregation, you can specify what do you want to run specifically for that for that specific test. So that's the idea. So in the automation and report, you can do integration with TeamCity, with Voyager, Voyager. You can do Azure. You can do with any other integration server like Bitbucket, Jenkins. And then the configuration is going to be a little bit different. But remember, everything that you specify in your test is going to be the same. Only the configuration for those integration tools is going to be a little bit different because you run maybe containers with running PowerShell, or you can do bare metal agents, or you can run in the cloud. So you have to do a little bit of different configuration. All of these automation tools specify different YAML configurations. But the outputs when you run the test, it can be the same. So it's going to be Pester, it's going to be can be red, green, or light, or yellow if you want to skip it. It's going to be the same. And the test results and code coverage is also going to be the same. So you can automate, you can do the configuration, you can run your test and get the same results. Everything for all of those integration tools, and the output is going to be actually the same. The good feature about Pester is you just develop the test just once. You don't have to do it multiple times. It's going to be the same tests. And what you specify is where your version of Pester is going to be executed. You have to be aware of that because Pester is continually adding new features. So you want to see if something new was added and that is solving new issues, or if you want to keep it in another version, you have to keep that version of PowerShell to be supported by, for that version of Pester to be supported by that PowerShell version. And the other point here is the test is up to you. You can generate code coverage, you can generate a specific ending Unix XML format for those tests. The example that I bring today is an example of how to run the test in Azure DevOps, and the text itself is pretty informative. So you can see here I have the Azure pipeline YAML, where it's giving you the report of how many tests were executed, like 6 were passed, 100%. How long the test was executed. This kind of metrics, you can add more if you want to see more. You can see the duration. The duration sometimes it's a little bit different because It's depend on how busy your agent is executing maybe other tasks. If you are sharing agents to execute the same task, you have only dedicated agents to run that. If you added more tests, for of course, your duration time is going to increase. This was a pretty dummy just to bring an idea how, what is the report when you execute that in actual develop, but the same output can be configured in any other tool. If you have Jenkins, you can do the integration with Jenkins reports and see those metrics in the Jenkins environment. If you are debugging or GitLab, you can do the same. The important part is every time that you do posters, you start doing locally, but most of the time you want to do continuous integration, it's going to be easy because it's going to run in the same way. It's going to be repeatable. It's going to be reliable. If something happens, you can execute it again, and you can share that with the whole team. That's one of the benefits of Pester. The takeaway from this conversation, of this talk, is that Pester is a BDD open source. I forgot that one. Pester is a open source BDD TDD framework only for PowerShell, with a lot of functions and features that are compatible like any other frameworks like SPED, Chef SPED, or SPED. Pester has a power set of mocking functions that allow you to mock in file system, keys in the system, external, REST API, anything that you want to do. Also, you can validate templates if you're using templates or file. You can validate the formats like YAML, JSON. It's comparable with any other DSL language in the market. And the good thing is your team have worked before with any other of those DSL. It's pretty easy to incorporate Pester in your new development process for PowerShell only. I repeat, it supports integrations with automation tools. Let's say Density, Abire, Actually Debug, and anything where you can, where your team is allowed to run PowerShell, it's possible to integrate Pester on it. And then you can support the resource and also code coverage to bring metrics, to bring quality to your software development for PowerShell. Those are this is my contact information. That's pretty much what I have for today's talk. Thank you for attending to the meeting. Any questions? Happy to answer.
Please drop your questions via the Slido platform by entering code #3648.
Okay.
We have a question.
Okay.
Okay, so there are many questions. So the starting one is, what are the must-have skills for test automation engineers?
Well, that's a general question and it's a good one. So the most skill is be a person that pay attention to details is really important. Is a person that is able to collaborate as a team is really important too. Also, is a person that need to be planning before starting doing anything. This planning is always a good insight, and also if the person have a good development skill as a background, that would be great, but it's not required. It's a DSL language are easy to understand, easy to learn, and that's pretty much more of the 3 points that I like always to look for someone is going to join to the QA team. What is the other one? Can it be used for developing stuff or creating command line interface for any stuff? Yeah, it can be used for anything that you want to mock. Using the mocking framework, you can do service, standard functions, anything that you like that you have in the system. The other one is it is only for PowerShell, or it's for any other tools. It's only for PowerShell. It was developed focused on the PowerShell. Nothing was there in the market, so anything like shell spec, server spec, those were there for a long time, and then just this news Pester was created just focused on the PowerShell tool and language. Automation text setups like ADF or any other Windows server like can Pester here. Pester can help, but you can do a lot. You have to do a lot of work, but it's doable. You can execute those ones in different in the slides, the different kind of version. They keep updating which version they have, so you have to look at those. What is a good source book? By learning Pester for PowerShell. If you go to the official documentation, you can Google that ones and you will see the official documentation have a lot of examples and a lot of tests. And also the promoters of this, they have a YouTube channel also with a lot of training sessions. Those are pretty good size that you can start looking at. They don't have any book, but they have documentations. I believe that that's the last one, right? Was a good source. Yep.
Yeah, so if you have any more questions, we will put them up on the panel session. Thanks, Roberto, for sharing your knowledge with us.
Thank you for the opportunity.